Naval Air Station North Island buzzed with activity as the morning sun cast long shadows across the flight line. Chief Petty Officer Olivia Martinez stood at the edge of the maintenance hangar, watching FA-18 Super Hornets taxi toward the runway. Her dark eyes followed their movement with unusual intensity for someone who had just been assigned to the maintenance division. Which city are you watching from? Share it in the comments. Maybe someone else from your city is here too. And remember, if you believe heroes appear in the most unexpected ways, hit subscribe and give this video a like. Chief Martinez, a young petty officer, approached. Commander Wilson wants to see you in his office. Olivia nodded, straightening her navy blue coveralls and running a hand over her black hair, pulled back in a tight regulation bun. At 38, she carried herself with quiet confidence, yet there was something else, a hesitation that seemed at odds with her rank. Commander Wilson was reviewing maintenance logs when Olivia knocked on his doorframe. "Chief Martinez, come in." Wilson gestured to the chair across from his desk. "I've been looking over your file. It's interesting." "Sir, there's not much here. Basic aviation maintenance training from years ago, then a gap, then suddenly you're a chief petty officer being transferred to one of our busiest fighter squadrons." He leaned back. "Care to fill in the blanks?" "I was on special assignment, sir. The details are classified." Her response was practiced, delivered without inflection. Wilson studied her. "Well, classified or not, I need to know what you can actually do. We're short-staffed and heading into a major deployment workup." "I understand, sir." "Good." Wilson handed her a folder. "You'll be leading the engine maintenance team. Lieutenant Commander Hayes runs the division. He's expecting you." Lieutenant Commander Hayes was briefing his maintenance crews when Olivia entered the ready room. "Ah, you must be Chief Martinez." Hayes extended his hand. "Just in time, we've got an FA-18E with an engine discrepancy that needs immediate attention." Hayes turned to address the assembled personnel. "This is Chief Martinez. She'll be taking over engine team leadership." "Chief," Hayes continued, "I'd like you to personally supervise the troubleshooting on aircraft 204. The pilot reported unusual vibrations during his last sortie." "Yes, sir." Olivia accepted the tablet from a young petty officer named Garcia. "We need that bird back in the air by tomorrow morning," Hayes added. "The squadron CO is scheduled to fly it." Olivia felt all eyes on her. This was clearly a test, giving the new chief a high-priority task right out of the gate. The maintenance bay was a symphony of controlled chaos, the whine of pneumatic tools, the clang of metal, and the constant chatter of technicians. Olivia stood before the massive engine of the Super Hornet, her team waiting for direction. "All right, let's start with the basics," she said. "Garcia, pull up the diagnostic reports. Johnson, visual inspection of the compressor blades. Lee, check the fuel control system." "Chief," Garcia approached after a few minutes. "The vibrations started during the climb to 20,000 feet and intensified during afterburner operation." Olivia nodded. "When was the last time this engine was serviced?" "Full inspection was completed 3 weeks ago. Everything checked out normal." Olivia set down the tablet and moved to the engine, her movements hesitant. She stared at the complex machinery, and for a brief moment, a look of uncertainty crossed her face. "Let's remove the access panels and check for foreign object damage," she finally said. The team worked efficiently, removing panels to expose the engine's inner workings. Olivia watched more than she participated, occasionally asking questions that seemed oddly basic for someone of her rank. "Chief," Johnson called out, "I don't see any damage to the compressor blades." Olivia peered into the engine, her movements careful but lacking the confident precision expected from an experienced maintenance chief. "Run a full electronic diagnostic," she ordered, stepping back. "Let's see what the computer tells us." As the diagnostic program ran, Lieutenant Commander Hayes entered the bay. "How's it looking, Chief?" he asked. "We're running diagnostics now, sir. No visible damage to the compressor section." Hayes nodded, watching her closely. "What's your initial assessment?" Olivia hesitated, just a fraction too long. It could be bearing wear, fuel control issues, or possibly a misalignment in the turbine section. Hayes's eyes narrowed slightly. "Those are very different problems with very different solutions, Chief. Which do you think is most likely based on the symptoms?" Olivia's discomfort was subtle but unmistakable. "I'd need to see the diagnostic results before making that determination, sir." "I see." Hayes's tone was measured. "I expect a full report by end of shift." As Hayes walked away, Olivia could feel the eyes of her team on her. The diagnostic computer beeped, signaling completion. What have we got, Garcia? Diagnostic shows anomalies in the fuel control system. Chief, possible faulty sensor or regulator. Let's focus on the fuel control system then. Pull the appropriate components for inspection. As the team worked, Olivia's instructions became increasingly vague. When specific technical questions arose, she deflected, asking the petty officers for their assessment rather than providing clear direction. By mid-afternoon, the mood had shifted from curiosity about the new chief to concern. Chief Martinez, Petty Officer Lee approached cautiously. We've checked the fuel control components. Everything looks normal, but the diagnostic still shows a problem. Olivia stared at the engine, frustration evident. Let's check the bearings next. But Chief, the diagnostic doesn't indicate any bearing issues, Lee said, confusion in his voice. Just do it, Olivia snapped, then immediately regained her composure. Please, I want to be thorough. Hours passed, and the source of the engine problem remained elusive. By evening, Lieutenant Commander Hayes returned for an update. His expression darkened as Olivia reported their lack of progress. Chief, a word in private, he said, gesturing toward a small office. Once inside, Hayes closed the door. What's going on, Chief Martinez? I've got reports from your team that you seem out of your depth. Olivia stood at attention, her face a mask. Sir, it's a complex issue. Cut the bull, Hayes interrupted. I've been watching. You're giving textbook responses without any real insight. You're hesitating on basic procedures. It's like you've never worked on a jet engine before. Give me until morning. I'll identify the problem. Hayes studied her, clearly unconvinced. You have until 0600. If that aircraft isn't ready for the CO's flight, I'm requesting your immediate reassignment. The maintenance bay was nearly empty when she returned, most of the day shift having been relieved by the smaller night crew. Garcia was still there, running another diagnostic. Everyone else left? Olivia asked. Yes, Chief. I wanted to run one more test. What are you checking? The FADE system, full authority digital engine control, Garcia explained. It's a long shot, but if there's a software glitch rather than a hardware problem, it might explain the inconsistent symptoms. After an hour, Garcia sat back with a sigh of frustration. Nothing. The software checks out. Olivia stared at the engine, conflict evident in her expression. Finally, she made a decision. Garcia, I need you to keep this between us, but I need help. Chief, my experience is not what it should be for this position. There are reasons which I can't discuss, but I need your expertise right now. What do you need from me, Chief? Walk me through this engine. Pretend I'm new. Show me what you would look for. For the next several hours, Garcia patiently explained the FA-18's engine systems. Olivia absorbed everything, asking intelligent questions that suggested she understood mechanical principles but lacked specific knowledge of this particular engine. As dawn approached, they had checked everything except one component, a variable stator vane, actuator buried deep within the engine. It's rarely the problem, Garcia explained, but when it fails, it can cause exactly the kind of vibration the pilot reported. How do we check it? Olivia asked. It's tricky. We need to partially disassemble the compressor section. It'll take at least 2 hours with a full team. Olivia checked her watch. Those are in Shizo 43. We don't have that kind of time. Is there any other way? Well, there is a shortcut. It's not in the manual, but some of the old-timers showed me. Garcia led her to a small access panel and explained the procedure for inserting a specialized camera to inspect the actuator without major disassembly. There, Garcia pointed at the screen. See that? The actuator arm has a hairline fracture. That's definitely our problem. By 0555, they were running final checks after replacing the faulty actuator. Chief Martinez, Lieutenant Commander Hayes' voice came from behind her. Is my aircraft ready? Yes, sir. We identified a fractured variable stator vane actuator and replaced it. Final checks are showing normal operation. Hayes looked skeptical. That's a rare failure. How did you find it? Before Olivia could answer, Garcia stepped forward. It was Chief Martinez's call, sir. She had us check components that aren't in the standard troubleshooting sequence. Said she had a hunch based on the specific vibration pattern. The squadron commanding officer's flight went perfectly. By mid-morning, word had spread that the new chief had solved a tricky mechanical issue. Olivia accepted the praise with humility. always deflecting credit to her team. Over the next 2 weeks, a pattern emerged. Olivia struggled with technical details, but proved to be an excellent leader, leveraging her team's strengths while covering her own weaknesses. She spent her evenings studying maintenance manuals, gradually improving her knowledge, but it was clear to those working closely with her that something was off about Chief Martinez's background. The breaking point came during a major inspection. Olivia was reviewing the maintenance checklist when Lieutenant Commander Hayes approached with a visitor, a tall, distinguished-looking man in a flight suit with commander's rank insignia. "Chief Martinez," Hayes said, "this is Commander Thomas from Naval Air Weapons Station China Lake. He's here to observe our maintenance procedures." Olivia turned and froze, her clipboard nearly slipping from her fingers. She recovered quickly, but not before both officers noticed her reaction. "Commander Thomas," she acknowledged with a nod, her voice carefully controlled. Throughout the day, Olivia was acutely aware of Commander Thomas watching her. When the day shift ended, she was heading to her car when a voice called out behind her. "Chief Martinez, a word?" She turned to find Commander Thomas approaching across the parking lot. "Sir?" Thomas glanced around to ensure they were alone. "What the hell are you doing here, Olivia?" Olivia's professional mask slipped, revealing genuine distress. "I can't discuss this here, sir." "Can't discuss it? You're supposed to be at China Lake preparing for the next test series. Instead, I find you playing mechanic at North Island. What happened to the F-35 program?" "Please, sir." Olivia's voice dropped to a whisper. "This assignment it wasn't my choice. I'm under orders not to reveal my background." Thomas stared at her in disbelief. "Whose orders?" "Because Admiral Winters has been asking where his top test pilot disappeared to. The program is on hold waiting for you." Before Olivia could respond, they were interrupted by Lieutenant Commander Hayes approaching from the hangar. "Everything all right here?" Hayes asked, his eyes moving between them. "Just catching up with the chief," Thomas said smoothly. "We've crossed paths before." In Hayes's office later, the lieutenant commander turned his monitor so she could see it. On the screen was her personnel file, with sections clearly missing or redacted. "What's your real background?" "Sir, my service record speaks for itself." "No, it doesn't," Hayes countered. "That's the problem. Your file has more holes than a target at the shooting range. And now I find you having what looked like a very tense conversation with a commander from China Lake who clearly knows you." "I can't, sir. I'm sorry." "Tomorrow morning, 0800, you're reporting to Captain Reynolds. I've requested a formal review of your assignment." That night, Olivia sat in her small off-base apartment, staring at her phone. Finally, she dialed a number from memory. "This is Captain Ward," a gruff voice answered. "Sir, it's Martinez. We have a problem." The next morning, the maintenance division was buzzing with rumors. Chief Martinez had been summoned to the captain's office, and Lieutenant Commander Hayes had been called in shortly after. At 0930, Hayes returned to the hangar, his expression thunderous. He gathered the maintenance team. "Listen up. There's been a change of plans. Chief Martinez will be continuing in her role as engine team leader." His tone made it clear he wasn't happy about this decision. As the sailors dispersed, Hayes spotted Olivia entering the hangar. Her face was pale, but she held herself with renewed confidence. He motioned her over to a quiet corner. "I don't know what strings you pulled, Chief, but this isn't over." "No, sir, it isn't," Olivia agreed quietly. "But I hope you'll understand soon." Before Hayes could respond, the hangar's loudspeakers crackled to life. "Attention all personnel, FOD walkdown on the flight line in 5 minutes." During the walkdown, a deafening roar filled the air as an FA-18 Super Hornet made a low pass over the airfield, its twin engines in full afterburner. The aircraft banked sharply, demonstrating incredible maneuverability before climbing vertically into the clear blue sky. "Damn showboats," Hayes muttered. "That's not an authorized maneuver pattern." The aircraft completed several more impressive maneuvers before landing. As it taxied toward the maintenance hangar, Hayes turned to Olivia. "Let's go see if he noticed any issues with the aircraft." They approached as the pilot descended the ladder. He removed his helmet, revealing a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair and a confident grin. "Lieutenant Commander Hayes," the pilot greeted, then turned to Olivia. "And you must be the new chief I've been hearing about." "Chief Martinez." "Sir," Olivia confirmed. "Chief," Jackson nodded, studying her face. Something flickered in his eyes. "Recognition? Have we met before, Chief?" "I don't believe so, sir," Olivia replied. her voice carefully neutral. Jackson continued to stare at her, his expression thoughtful. "You look familiar. Were you ever stationed at Fallon?" "No, sir. Never had the pleasure." An alarm suddenly blared across the flight line. Red lights began flashing on the hangar walls. The fire alarm. "Fire in Hangar 3, came the announcement over the loudspeakers. "All personnel evacuate immediately." As personnel began moving quickly toward the exits, a loud explosion echoed across the flight line. Black smoke billowed from Hangar 3, which housed the squadron's fuel depot. "That's not good," Jackson muttered, watching the smoke rise. "If that fire reaches the main fuel storage—" Another explosion, larger than the first, rocked the base. Flames began to engulf the structure. "Where's the fire response team?" Hayes shouted. "They were doing training at the far side of the base," a petty officer reported. "It'll take them at least 5 minutes to get here." "We don't have 5 minutes," Jackson said grimly. "If that fire spreads to the adjacent hangars, we could lose half the air wing." Hayes turned to the gathered personnel. "I need volunteers to help contain this until the fire team arrives." Several sailors stepped forward immediately. Olivia hesitated for just a moment, then joined them. "Chief, I need you to coordinate from here," Hayes ordered. "With respect, sir, I should be with the team," Olivia countered. The group moved quickly toward Hangar 3, grabbing fire extinguishers along the way. The heat was intense as they approached, the roar of the flames drowning out all other sound. "We need to focus on the western wall," Hayes shouted over the noise. "Keep the fire from reaching Hangar 2. Suddenly, Olivia broke from the group, running toward a nearby tow tractor. "Martinez, get back here!" Hayes shouted. Olivia ignored him, jumping into the tractor and starting the engine. She drove directly toward a water tanker parked near the edge of the tarmac, a vehicle used for washing down the flight line. "What the hell is she doing?" Hayes asked, watching in disbelief. Jackson's eyes widened in understanding. "She's going to use the water tanker to create a fire break." They watched as Olivia connected the tow tractor to the water tanker and began driving it toward the burning hangar. She positioned it between hangars 3 and 2, then jumped out to operate the controls. Water began spraying in a wide arc, creating a barrier between the fire and the adjacent hangar. Olivia worked the controls with surprising expertise, adjusting the spray pattern to maximize coverage. "She knows what she's doing," Jackson commented, a note of respect in his voice. "Yeah," Hayes agreed reluctantly. "But how does a maintenance chief know how to operate specialized firefighting equipment?" As the fire response team finally arrived and took over, Olivia rejoined Hayes and Jackson. Her uniform was singed, her face streaked with soot, but her eyes were clear and focused. "Quick thinking, Chief," Jackson said, giving her an appraising look. "Where did you learn to operate that equipment?" "I've had some training, sir," Olivia replied vaguely. Hayes was about to press for more details when a shout came from behind them. "Fuel leak! We've got a fuel leak in Hangar 2!" The fire had spread through heat transfer. A fuel line in the adjacent hangar had ruptured, and jet fuel was now pooling on the floor, creating an imminent danger of a second, potentially more devastating fire. "Everyone out," the fire chief ordered. "Clear the area." As personnel began to evacuate, Olivia spotted something that made her blood run cold. A young sailor had been knocked unconscious by falling debris and was lying directly in the path of the spreading fuel. Without hesitation, Olivia sprinted toward the fallen sailor, ignoring the shouts behind her. She reached the young man just as the fuel did, hoisting him over her shoulder in a perfect fireman's carry. As she turned to escape, a spark ignited the fuel, creating a wall of flame between her and the exit. Trapped, with an unconscious sailor on her shoulder and fire closing in from all sides, Olivia made a split-second decision. She ran toward a small side door that led to the flight line, kicking it open and emerging onto the tarmac just as a secondary explosion rocked the hangar behind her. She laid the sailor gently on the ground as medical personnel rushed forward. Hayes and Jackson approached, their expressions a mixture of awe and confusion. "That was—" Hayes began, then shook his head, unable to find the words. "Impressive," Jackson finished for him, "but not surprising." Hayes turned to him. "What do you mean?" Instead of answering, Jackson reached into his flight suit and pulled out a small leather case. He opened it to reveal an ID card and badge, which he showed to Hayes. "Naval Intelligence," Jackson explained. "I've been sent to find our missing test pilot." Hayes looked from the badge to Olivia. his eyes widening in realization. Test pilot? Jackson nodded. Lieutenant Commander Olivia Martinez, top of her class at TOPAG, one of the Navy's most experienced F-35 test pilots. Over 2,000 flight hours in everything from FA-18s to the latest F-35 variants. Olivia stood straight, no longer hiding behind the facade of an inexperienced maintenance chief. "Sir, I can explain." "No need," Jackson interrupted. "Captain Ward briefed me this morning. Operation Ghost Wing, right? Deep cover assignment to identify the source of classified information leaks within the F-35 program." Hayes stared at Olivia in disbelief. "You're a fighter pilot? Pretending to be a maintenance chief?" The best way to find who was leaking technical data was to be where that data was being handled, Olivia explained. Maintenance records, performance logs, system diagnostics, all accessible to someone in my position. "But why the charade with me?" Hayes demanded. "Why not bring me in on the operation?" "Because we didn't know who to trust," Jackson answered. "The leaks were sophisticated, suggesting someone with high-level access. Could have been anyone, even a department head." Hayes shook his head, processing this revelation. "So all this time, when you were struggling with basic maintenance procedures, I was playing a role," Olivia confirmed. "Though I'll admit, aircraft systems look very different from the cockpit than they do from the maintenance bay." "Did you find the leak?" Hayes asked. Olivia nodded. "Yesterday. That's why I called Captain Ward last night. The operation is being wrapped up as we speak." As if on cue, military police vehicles pulled up to the administration building across the flight line. Two MPs escorted a civilian contractor in handcuffs toward a waiting car. Software engineer, Jackson explained. He was selling F-35 performance data to foreign buyers, had access to all the maintenance computers. Hayes turned back to Olivia, seeing her in a new light. "So what happens now, Lieutenant Commander?" Olivia smiled for the first time since arriving at North Island. "Now I go back to China Lake and get back in the cockpit where I belong. We have a new F-35 variant waiting for flight testing." "And the maintenance division?" Hayes asked. "Gets a real chief with actual maintenance experience," Jackson assured him. "She's arriving tomorrow." Hayes extended his hand to Olivia. "It was educational, having you in my division, Commander." Olivia shook his hand firmly. "Likewise, sir, and for what it's worth, you run a tight ship. Your sailors are some of the best I've seen." As they walked back toward the administrative building, Hayes couldn't resist one last question. "So, all that trouble with the variable stator vane, actuator, did you really figure that out, or was that just Garcia covering for you?" Olivia laughed. "Let's just say that sometimes the view from the cockpit gives you insights that you can't get from a maintenance manual. When you've felt that specific vibration pattern through the stick, you never forget it." Hayes nodded, finally understanding. "A pilot's perspective." "Exactly," Olivia confirmed. "Sometimes, to fix the problem, you need to know how it feels to fly.